Hey, this is Jeff Moore with Wild Things Seafood. And, you know, when we talk about the Wild Things lifestyle, and we talk about great food at home, it's impossible to create some of the greatest dishes around without fresh herbs. And those add the flavor and that uniqueness to your dishes at home to really give the wow factor. And I'm real fortunate that we've got Chef Gabriel today because he, from the Lazy Dog Restaurant and Bar, because he is so passionate about fresh herbs. As a matter of fact, we're at the test kitchen right now and outlining his kitchen. He actually is growing fresh herbs outside. And it's just a testament to how passionate he is about flavors and food. But something else that I've noticed and read about and I've seen in publications is Chef Gabriel also writes about herbs. And so he'll have a monthly issue or a monthly post that is about a specific herb. And so I thought it was a great opportunity for us as we're talking about the Wild Things lifestyle, great flavors and healthy food, to talk about herbs. And so, where did this passion for herbs come from? Is it just part of the cooking passion? What is it?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. You know, there's a lot of different facets of it. I mean, there's the gardening part of it. You know, which before you even get into the kitchen, you've got to grow it. And I kind of grew up always having a garden and stuff in my family's house, and now I've got one in my own home. But the gardening part of it's a lot of fun. And then once you have that, you can use it, and they're fresh. And you can bring them inside.
You know what? Also, he corrected me when we were talking about this before this episode. I'm like, we're going to talk about spices. And he goes, yeah, let me help you with that. These are herbs. He goes, after they're dried and put in the thing, then they're spices. We're talking about fresh herbs. He goes, I'll talk about spices, but let's make sure that we're talking about herbs here. What's the big difference there?
There's a lot of differences in cooking. I mean, you think about something like fresh basil compared to dry basil, you know. Dry basil would be great for that 10-hour cooked grandma's marinara on the stovetop, but you wouldn't want to take the dry basil and sprinkle it over your caprese salad.
Okay.
You know, so that's kind of a real good visual or thought in terms of how you would use one for the other. You could go flip-flop with that. I'd love to put fresh basil in my marinara, but I would only use fresh basil for the caprese salad. So they each got their own little rhyme and reason to them. And but on the whole, you're going to find that the fresh herbs are really kind of what you would rather use for
they're
finishing.
more flavorful?
It can actually be the opposite of that, because as they're dried, you've got you actually have more mass, you know, and it's dried, and there's essential oils in there that kind of release once you cook them. But they're probably more mild, I would say, and in a lot of cases, and they're definitely more palatable. You know, think about taking what would you rather down, a tablespoon of Italian seasonings or a tablespoon of chopped chives, and you know, they're just definitely more palatable. We've got some fun little ones, and these are definitely the grocery store.
What's your favorite herb? Like for cooking, what's your favorite?
They're all like little children.
Okay,
just one.
All right, so cool. So you love them equally.
Yeah.
There's also, when you write in the articles, you talk about the history of the herb. You know, where it was. You know, there's recorded history about who was using it, what king or pharaoh or something was using it. But you also talk about medicinal qualities, and so, you know, is there a universal herb like something? I think I saw you write an article on cumin, was it? Or cinnamon?
Yeah.
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon's good for liver and for flushing. And you're right. It's interesting because cooking is about cultures and history, and it can be tracked to. It can be tracked to monetary things like salt, you know, worth your weight in salt. Salt was actually a commodity that they used to pay people with because they couldn't find it back in the day. There's all kinds of really neat stories and things that come from it. But certain herbs, spices, roots, seeds, fruits, they all have different potential medicinal purposes. And there's a lot of claims out there, so that you have to be very careful with what's being said and what's actually being done. But I think the most important thing for me is the flavor first, and then secondary. If it's got a medicinal purpose, it's a twofer. You know,
there you go.
2 for 1 on that.
There you go. You know, I have a recipe. I do a lobster and tarragon butter. Actually, I did culottes, seared culottes and then topped it with lobster and tarragon butter at the Wild Things warehouse sale a week ago. And it asked for chopped tarragon. And I opened that thing up and I'm like, I don't know, okay, what am I doing here? You know, am I just gonna start chopping this stuff up? I think probably these stems need to come off here, and I'm just guessing. So maybe you can help me and we can go back through, because I know that there's some friends of mine that want me to prepare that lobster and tarragon butter again at our home. So definitely want to learn how to do that.
One of the things I love about food in general is that they're not the same. You know, I told someone the other day they had a tough cut of meat. I said there's no two cows are alike. And you look at what you get in this package here, and you've got this bigger piece, and you've got this little fine piece.
Well, this is what my hair looked like 15 years ago, and this is what my hair looks like now.
I've completely forgotten what mine looked like. I just refer to pictures. But anyway, what I was getting at with that is the middles of this is very tender,
Okay.
right? So you could just take this whole thing and chop that up and use it.
Okay.
But when you strip this one down to this part, you can see that this sucker is really tough, right?
Right.
So I would probably strip this down, and you can chop all of that stuff up, and you'll be fine. But you do, you want to go through here. Basically, if you can pull it off, that's great. But if it breaks, then that's tender enough to chop up. So, but you definitely want to stay clear of these bigger branches. Obviously, if there's anything browning or discoloring, you get to the heart of this, and you can see that there's some that's probably past its prime.
Okay.
We'll put those side by side right there.
Yeah.
Green, brown.
Yep.
Throw away
the
brown. Okay. So you want to stick with that and make sure that you've got all the nice green stuff in there. Okay.
Okay.
But that's basically it. Okay. Then to that, you would just run a knife through it.
You guide me.
Okay.
Guide me, Mr. Miyagi.
Choose your weapon. Would you choose this small knife?
No. I would actually choose the big knife.
I would choose the big knife as well.
Oh my goodness.
There you go.
Okay, so
everybody's watched the TV Food Network and all the shows out there with their knuckles, and if you haven't, there's the whole thing about keeping your knuckles tucked in. So yeah, so what you got there is your fingertips. Actually, you're using your knuckles to guide, and you're tucking in your fingertips. And then you're going to go just across that.
Is it just like that? Do I go across like this or just down?
It depends on how fine you want it to be. But see, now you're starting to put your fingertips out. So keep those fingertips tucked in all the way under. And then when you get to the end, you just push that into the middle again.
And then do that.
And I'm going to show you, you're going to run through that one more time. And this is kind of the initial cut through.
Okay, now wait. Okay, this is
there you go. There you go. Get your knuckles, get your fingertips tucked under. Use your knuckles as kind of a guide. It's nice to steady the knife by putting the palm of your hand or the tips of your finger on that, and then use the heel of the knife to go back through. And you don't want to chop the heck out of it.
Look at me, I'm cutting!
You're doing it.
I'm cutting, everybody!
There it goes. Cool.
Okay, then very carefully
down.
This way down.
Right.
Is that the wrong way? Or?
If you want to be even safer, I'll put some on there. You can go straight down.
Okay.
Knock it off. You don't want to go alongside.
Got it.
Okay.
Step away. So that's it.
That's it. I mean, you've got chopped fresh tarragon for that lobster that you were talking about, and you can do some herbs ahead of time, but some are real fragile. This is a fragile herb. The French call it the fiend herbs, right?
But we did it really quickly.
We did it really quickly. So again, as we've talked about in the past, you and I have talked about this, and I think we shot one earlier, where you gotta pick your battles, so to speak. What can I do ahead of time, and what will last, and what do I need to wait and do closer to preparation time or service time, so that one, you're not running around and you're comfortable and your friends are having fun and you're having fun, and then two, the food is actually done correctly, right? So if you chop this 3 days early, it's going to turn brown. It's going to be horrible.
Yeah, it's not going to be good.
Right.
Okay, fabulous. So there we are talking about herbs today, and what we learned here today is when get rid of the sticks, right? When you open something like this up. The tender stuff, you want to peel like tarragon. You're going to peel the stuff away from the stick,
right.
So then you get the leaves, and then once it starts to tear, it's tender enough.
When we're at rosemary, real quick.
Rosemary.
Yeah. Keep talking.
Okay.
I'm just
So we got rosemary, and then when we're chopping, that we're tucking our fingers under, and we are using this. I guess this is the second finger part of the phalanges here. your fingers, and you're using that as the guide coming down. Okay, and then once you've got it to a fine point, we take it and we put the palm here, and we're chopping it. The big bay leaves here.
Big bay leaves go in whole and they come out whole.
Okay.
And that's an easy way to track them. You don't want to eat any bay leaf.
Sage.
Sage is the same kind of thing. It depends on how it's growing. But you can either peel them backwards like we did with the tarragon or the rosemary, or you might have to pick the leaves off of the stem like we did with the dill.
Okay.
Chives are 100% usable. So we got chives here, and you basically are just going to chop these up. Chives are in the onion family, so think of it as a much more refined scallion or green onion.
That one's easy to chop, right? That's like
you just chop it up, and sometimes you want them big, sometimes you want it fine, and sometimes you use them whole as little decorations. And actually, these are really good in salads. That's a great. Yeah, that's a great point. You know how sometimes you buy one of these and you only need half of it for the recipe?
Yeah.
Just take them and put them in your salads.
just whole.
Just whole. Tarragon, some you can't. The fiend herbs, which would be like chives, tarragon, dill, you could put in your salads. You would not want to put rosemary in your salad.
Because
right?
that's
very strong.
Yeah, it's
very
heavy.
strong. And you wouldn't want to do the same thing with sage and bay leaf. You really want to
And
eat
then basil. What's the difference between basil and bay leaves?
So basil is a totally different thing. It's a tender leaf. Grab one of those bay leaves. So it's very tender, and you can eat basil straight. It is strong, but you can eat it straight. This is much more like a leaf, like you'd find on a lemon tree or something like that. And so it's very fibrous, and it's also pungent, so you would want to taste it. You would put one bay leaf in a big pot to flavor a lot. Whereas, that same pot of marinara, you probably have to put 10 of these leaves. So it's very strong.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. And oh, by the way, before I forget, again, if you're too freaked out, you want, here's basil again, right? So this is the basil, and here's the basil in some of these tubes. But this is the last resort. You're absolutely not going to do it. So don't even think about it type thing. And this is something that you could definitely use. But the trick is to gain your confidence in preparing this type of stuff at home. Have fun, like Gabe keeps saying, chill out, have a great time, glass of wine, and just play with it. So anyway, that is our Wild Things episode on herbs. Thank you. We'll see you soon.